How can it be boring? I've got the ocean to swim in. I've got the river to swim in. I can go dive off the pier. I can go walk on the breakwater. I can go build a bonfire. What can you do except sit on your back porch or play in your yard?
Right.
Oh, well, that's different. Yeah, it is different.
Yeah. You're the lucky one. You grew up on the ocean. It's crazy. Your house in Camp Ellis.
Yeah, it was. Well, you've never been down there.
I have been down there. Now they turned your house as part of a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Hewitt's restaurant.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And it's like, I remember when we took you there, you were telling me how, didn't your mom or was it your mother who had a hair salon?
My sister.
Okay. Arlene had a hair salon. And so she would do hair in the house, right?
Yeah. The sun porch was where she had her hair salon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
That was right in the front.
Right.
Like you go in the front door, and then if you look out over here, like let's say the sun porch wasn't much wider than this, from here to here.
Right.
She had her stuff down here, and over here, if you open the windows, you were right in the yard, and Hewitt's restaurant, and the back door was right there.
Right there.
And I don't know how many times my mother would be sitting there, and the men's room was close by there, and sometimes I guess they couldn't make it to the men's room or somebody was there. They'd open that back door, and one time my mother said, "You better put that in or I'll cut it." And she said that in her broken English.
French. French Canadian.
And she told the woman that owned the restaurant, she says, you should lock that door. Either that, because they built their restaurant was right on the very edge.
Yeah.
See, they wouldn't get away with that today.
Right.
They should have supposed to leave 12 inches at least.
Yeah.
But it was
So when you lived there was a restaurant there too?
next door, right next
Where Hewitt's is still?
Yeah.
Or was it the Wormwoods restaurant?
No, the Wormwood was over there, and Hewitt's was right
to the
here.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So Hewitt's has been there for that long?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you were between Hewitt's and Wormwoods. Because when you came out of your house and take a left, the jetty, right?
Yeah.
That was there when you were a kid too, right? Yeah. So did you guys go out on there and fish and swim and do all that?
On that pier, on the little pier. Well, we had the little pier, we had the big pier.
Yeah.
So we had a choice. And sometimes the guys would prefer to go down on the big pier at the end because they said it was different kind of fish. But if they fished on the little pier, sometimes the fish were big, smaller, or sometimes they got a lot of eels.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Gross. Oh.
The couleurs.
Did they, on the big pier, did you guys jump off into the water?
Yeah. We used to play follow the leader.
What's it like?
And I can remember when Uncle Donald couldn't swim, a stroke. The only thing he could do was swim underwater.
Oh.
He would go underwater and swim. Then he'd come up and take a breath. And he'd sink, so he'd go back underwater, and he couldn't swim on top of the water.
But he could swim under. That's interesting.
So we would play follow the leader. We were a bunch of us. And, of course, some of the guys could do all kinds of stuff. And we'd go down the end of the pier, and we had to dive backwards, and we had to do somersaults and all that. My kid brother was 3 years younger than me. And he would try to do the same thing. And sometimes it wouldn't work out too well. And then he'd start screaming, "I don't need help."
So, Arlene, how much older was your sister?
My sister is 5 years older than me.
And then you?
And then me, and then I'm 3 years older than Donald.
And did Arlene go down and swim and do all that stuff too? Would she always go with you guys?
When we swam?
Yeah. No.
No, because she had her friends. Because, I mean,
So
there
she
was
did
5
other
years
things.
difference between us.
Oh, true.
So
that probably wasn't
but
that cool.
We had a bunch, we had our own group, and like Donald was 3 years younger than me, but he kind of hung around with me because when my mother was working, I was more or less his babysitter. Huh?
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
Well, he's
But
lucky.
it worked out, it was...
And how old was Donald when he passed away?
I can't remember. I'm not good at remembering things like that.
But it was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, it was quite a while back.
And
It's funny that you should say that because last week I was thinking the same thing. What year was it? Aunt Arlene would know. She's good at dates and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm not.
But wasn't he younger when he passed away, or was he older?
No, he was. Well, I was. How old was I?
Like, was he in his 50s or 60s or?
No, he was younger than that.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm trying to remember. Now, who did you say, my mother or my...
Donald.
Oh, Donald. When he passed away?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was married by that time. So
Yeah.
I had to be in my 20s.
Oh, wow. So
there's
he
3
was...
years difference between us.
So he was a teenager.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did he die?
I don't know, but he abused himself so much. He started drinking before he should have, and he was smoking heavy and not getting any sleep, and
Yeah. So he was young. I didn't realize he was that young when he
Yeah.
passed away.
oh, he started very young, really not taking care of himself and not eating the way he should. And it's not because my mother always made good meals, but when she went to work,
Oh, yeah.
I was the babysitter. Huh? You think he'd listen to me?
Well, no, you're his sister.
Yeah.
I can attest to the fact, though, that you're a pretty good babysitter. You babysat me for a lot of years.
Yeah, but he just, well, I can see his point. He didn't want to feel like a baby,
Yeah.
and he figured there were things he could do that my mother didn't want him to do, so I'd say, you're not supposed to do that. And of course, me telling him he's not supposed to do that,
Right.
that was a no-no.
Right.
Who do I think I am, anyway?
Right.
You know.
Probably made him, a lot of people at that age end up wanting to do it more because they know they're not supposed to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which he did sometimes.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
that's crazy.
I felt so bad for my mother, though, because she was working, and she had to work because they needed the money.
Where was she working?
In the mill.
Okay.
And she was working second shift.
Oh.
So that was difficult. And she'd come home late at night, and a lot of times there were squabbles that had happened during the day, and somebody was like,
Yeah.
And then the next day would be rehashed all over. And I'm sure she'd go to work, and she was worried all the time.
Yeah.
Because I can remember Uncle Phil saying, which was Ralph then to us, because my brother would push it to the end, and he'd say to my mother, Mom, I'm going to let him have it. I'm going to let him have it. And my mother would say, no, don't do that. When you feel that way, go for a walk.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to do. You want to give him one.
Right. So Phil, where is he in the sibling? Like, was he older than you?
Oh, yeah. Phil was the oldest.
Oh.
And then Aunt Arlene and him had a year's difference.
Okay, they were close in
yeah,
age.
And then Aunt Arlene and I think there was 3 years difference.
You said 5.
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years, that's right. And then 3 years difference between
You
me
and Donald. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot all about Phil.
Yeah. So you can imagine when my mother went to work, she had her mind at home.
I'm sure she had 4 kids.
Because my sister was stubborn, and things she was supposed to do.
Yeah.
She was the type that I'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she'd sit there and read those love magazines, romance books, and all that. And Uncle Phil would get so mad. And sometimes he'd get hold of the book and he'd throw it at her, or he'd throw it across the room, and he'd say, "You're supposed to be doing this. I'll get to it."
Yeah.
She didn't want him to boss her around, and she should have done it and got it over with.
Right. But that's not everyone's approach, right?
No. With me, I had chores I had to do. I'd get up in the morning, and this was another thing. We slept in the same bed.
I remember you telling me that, yeah.
And I couldn't really make the bed, because if I'd make the bed, sometimes she'd be in the bathroom, she'd come back, she'd go back to bed.
Yeah.
Or my mother's bed would be made, she'd go in my mother's bed. Oh, I could have killed her.
What about your father? What did he do for work?
He worked in the Navy Yard.
And, excuse me. Remind me your parents' names again. What were your parents' names?
My father's name
Yeah.
was William, but everybody called him Bill.
Oh, right, because Sean's named after him. Sean William.
Yeah. And my
Okay.
grandfather's name was William.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And your mom's name?
My mother's name was Beatrice.
Oh, right. Memere B.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my godmother's name was Beatrice.
Oh, wow. So there were
Yeah.
2?
Yeah, because when I was born, my mother and my Aunt B lived, like, let's say, there's a house here facing the street.
Yeah.
And then there's another little house that starts over here, like, and goes to the back. My grandmother owned both those houses.
Okay.
And my parents lived in one of them, and my Aunt B lived in the other one. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's crazy to think about how different things were back then, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I spent a lot of time at my Aunt B's because they didn't have children. They couldn't have children.
Okay.
So they always had somebody's kids with them.
Right.
I used to stay there with them a lot. And then she had another godchild that lived in Augusta. And whenever she could, she'd go get him, too.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had met Memere B. I don't remember her at all. I don't even... Was I born?
You don't remember her at the...
No, Tony's the only
camp?
one. No. I've seen pictures, but I want to say either she passed away, like, right after I was born, or she must have passed away right before I was born.
See, I don't remember days of sterile.
Tony was a baby when she died.
She what?
Tony was a baby when she passed away, so I don't think I was born yet. Because there's, like, no pictures of me being held by her, or, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, if Tony was a baby.
I wouldn't have been born yet, because we're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I had met her, because everything I hear about her...
She was fun.
I feel like she would have... She was like my spirit animal.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Like we have a lot in common.
She was always ready to do stuff.
Yeah.
And from what I understand from her past, that's the way she was all the time. And the guys, they wouldn't fight with her because she could... You know what they do when they get on the floor? They do... I don't...
Uh-oh. Candle down.
They don't call it that. In French, they call it la jambette, but I don't know what they call it in English.
La jambette.
It's like one person lays down this way, and one person lays down this way, and you put one leg to the other one, and you try to flip them over.
Oh, it's like a wrestling thing almost, like where you wrestle with each other.
Yeah, you're supposed to try to flip one over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she could flip the men.
That's my kind of lady.
She was short, but she was strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like she was funny.
And they used to say, when she grabs your arm like that, you go down.
People would know.
When she'd get mad, she wouldn't hit. She'd grab your arm and...
Yeah.
You went down.
A no-nonsense kind of lady. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would have gotten along.
She was full of fun. She liked fun. She liked playing cards, and she loved playing cards, and she wanted Armin to be her partner. No, was it Armin or John? John.
I was going to say, I can't see Pepe playing cards.
I think it was John. She wanted John to be her partner because she figured John played cards good, real good, and it was funny. But she was a good sport.
Wish I had gotten to know her.
Of course, when I a lot of the things that I heard, I never saw because I wasn't even born then.
Yeah.
But like what they call the jambette there, one goes one way, one goes the other way, and you flip one person.
Yeah, right.
She could do that to the men.
Right, that's crazy.
Because there's a way that if you can do it, you don't have to be very big.
Right, you can just flip them over.
And she was always ready for fun.
Hey, it's the way to be.
Yeah.
I tell you. Well, that's
Sometimes
good.
she'd tease Uncle Armin and, she'd say in French, "Fais attention, là, toi, là. Tu vas me fâcher."
Translate means?
Huh?
What in English? Your
Fais attention
attention.
means be careful.
Yeah.
And fâché means I'm mad, only you're kind of...
Oh, like,
kinda,
in other words, she's giving him a warning.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's
and
cool.
Armin would go along with her, He used to like to kid her around.
Well, Pepe was a joker anyway.
Yeah.
Gosh, I miss hearing his terrible jokes.
Oh, my God.
They were so good.
And sometimes, I got a little joke for you. We'd all go, oh,
Uh-oh.
no.
Yeah, I know. I remember when he was in the hospital and it was like really quiet.
Yeah.
And he's in there telling jokes and I gave him $2 to fuck the duck and we're all like, Pepe, there's people here who don't understand what's happening. But I mean, all the way till the end, he was joking.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you. And I still, to this day, I'll hear a good joke and I'm like, oh, I gotta remember to tell Pepe that because I
Yeah.
know he would have liked it.
Yeah.
You know, such a good joker. But
Oh,
he's
sometimes we'd go somewhere and somebody would say something, and they didn't tell a joke, but they would say something, and he'd say, "I gotta remember, I got a joke for that."
yeah.
And then he'd come home and say, "Oh, I forgot now what it was."
I know. He was a good sport though.